Hey guys, welcome to CawbeerTV, doing our obedient deck guide, the way I run it, not the correct way to run it, just the way I run it. So without further ado, start off with the first card, Crippling Blight. It's a 1 cost, enhanced creature, gets -1/-1 and can't block. Quite a handy card. That's kind of why I run 2 of them. Also because of the low costs, it can just pin down a few of the creatures sometimes. You can swap one of them out. I had been playing it with only one, but I decided to chuck the other one in because I was running 2 of these things and I got rid of one of them. So on the next feature, Fume Spitter is 1 cost 1/1, but you can sacrifice it and put a -1/-1 counter on it. Yet again, it's a handy creature just to have early game for maybe blocking purposes or just pinging something, and late game it can ping something as well that's maybe quite small. They're just the wee cards that you're basically delaying for this deck to really kick in. Obviously Innocent Blood, keep one of them, each player sacrifices a creature. Generally you want to have that played when you've maybe not got anything in the battlefield, so he has to sack something and you don't. That's generally why I only run one of them. You don't particularly want to see this late game, especially in the current way I've got the deck run up. I'm not really wanting to sacrifice creatures, so that's why I run one of them. Myers Toll, the amount of swamps you control, you get to see that many players' cards and you can just make him discard one. Kind of handy. It's only a 1 cost and it means you can get to see his hand later on in the game, see what he's holding as well, and you can force him to get rid of one of his cards. For 1 cost, it's a great card. I run both the Jet Medallions. All my black spells cost 1 less power. Sign in Blood, obviously 2 cost, you lose 2 life but you get a card. And as I said, this deck's very reasonably simple to run. You can run it 2 ways, I suppose. You can run it really light creatures as well, but I'd tend to run it this way. Anyway, Infest, all creatures get -2/-2. Yeah, it's just one of the bombs in this game. One of the clear the battlefield spells, kind of handy. Last Kiss, this is a great one. A 3 cost, does 2 damage, and you gain 2 life. So you can ping something off, which is quite cool, and you get life back from it, so it's a great card. Obviously 4 murders, it's your kill card, so run them. The Vampire Nighthawk, handy card, it's a 2/3, so it's a pretty decent blocker with the Flying, Death Touch and Lifelink. Just a really handy card. Every time I've played against the Obedient Dead, this card's an annoyance that has to be pinged pretty much straight away, so like that card. Diabolic Tutor, 4 cost, and you basically search your deck for a card. Great card, obviously. Go and get something big if you need it. I run the Liliana Shade. It's a 1/1. You can pump it for 1/1, plus you get a swamp when it enters the battlefield, so I run 3 of them. Infest, Mutilate, obviously, -1/-1 to all creatures, depending on how many swamps you control. So if you control 6, -6/-6, obviously. Necrotal, pretty good card, just because it comes in the battlefield to destroy something, so it's a 4 cost destroy something, plus it's got first strike as well, so obviously it's a non-black, but it's pretty decent. On to some of the big ones, the Obliterator, I don't know how you say that, the Phyrexian Obliterator. Just a horrible card to play against. Whenever deals the damage to this, it destroys permanents. It's just a great blocker, and it has trample if you decide to swing in as well, and it's only a 4 cost. It's a 4 cost 5/5. Great card. Tendrils of Corruption, deal damage to a target creature. It's basically another kill spell for 4. X is basically the damage. I'll deal the X damage to target creature and you get X life. So it's just to X is the number of swamps you control. So later on, quite a powerful card to ping some bigger creatures. I like this guy, the Halo Hunter. It's bonus against angels. Currently, obviously, the only angels I think are in the Exalted Darkness, but it can destroy an angel when it enters a battlefield, so it's just like this bonus ability, and it's a 6/3 with Intimidate, so it's a pretty decent card as well for 5. Some of the costs for these cards are just so ridiculous. Rise from the Grave, go into a graveyard, get a creature back, obviously run the 1 Corrupt, to deal damage to somebody's face, so later on you can do some serious damage to the face, win the game with that. Dread, another brilliant card at 6/6 for 5, 6/6 for 6. It has Fear, and whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. So basically if I attack, then he doesn't block, that creature will get destroyed. So that's also quite nasty. You want to be getting rid of this as soon as it comes on the battlefield. Again, it's one of these nasty cards. Moving on, obviously we've got Grave Titan from the last one, 6/6, put 2/2 black zombies on, and when it attacks it puts the zombies on, and it's got Death Touch. Self-explanatory, beast. Another one of your bomb kind of sort of clear the battlefield, Massacre Worm. 6 cost, comes down, all creatures get -2/-2 till the end of the turn, and whenever a creature dies, that player loses life. So if he's like Peacekeepers and they're all quite weak when you drop this, you can really do a lot of damage to his face and wipe the board. Massacre Worm, insane card. Sorry, click that. Nightmare, power toughness equal to your swamps, but it's a flyer, so that's why I run one of them. It means you can get over the top sometimes, and it's quite a handy card. A Ruin Scarred Demon, obviously you can go and search your deck for a card. When a Ruin Demon enters battlefield, search your library for a card, great one. And then put it into your hand and then shuffle your library. And it's a flyer for 7. So quite expensive cost, but this is what this deck's about. It's about getting to your big cost ones, and then you're basically going to get a card that can win you the game, or block off if so need be, usually to win the game. I do run Avatar of Woe. If there are 10 creatures or more in the graveyard, Avatar of Woe costs 6 less to cast. Can be quite handy against Dream Puppets. If you're getting low and you've got her in your basically in your hand, you can get her out against the Dream Puppets quite nice. And the ability to destroy a creature is just really handy as well, and a 6/5 with Fear. So she's pretty cool. I do like her. Last two big ones, obviously Grizzlebrand, fly and lifelink, pay 7, draw 7 cards. Insane card. It's 7/7 as well. Once he comes down, you're generally in a pretty strong position. And then I run one of the Reaver Demons. When it enters a battlefield, all non-black creatures and artifacts get destroyed. So he's another just comes in, clears the battlefield and puts you in a really pretty strong position. There is 2 of them in the deck, but I only run 1. Just skim through the cards I don't run. Obviously not one of the Stream Spitters. I've sacrificed one of the Innocent Bloods. 2 cost Beetle Blister. Yeah, again, it's the -1 till the end of the turn. So it comes in, you can ping a small creature, but it's only a 1/1 for 2. And what would I take out the deck to get that in is the question. Exsanguinate, that's basically an opponent loses life. You can kill people off, but I don't run that. I think there's enough to the face cards in this that are probably better, that I'd rather run, or creatures that are probably better. I mean, you could take rid of one of the demons, I suppose, the bigger cards, and drop it in, but I prefer not to. I don't run the Nakuto Shade either. You do see this, a lot of people do run it. It's a good card because it's +1/+1 to the end of the turn for 2, it's a cost, and it's a 2/1. But I'd rather have the Liliana Shade just for the pure purpose of getting that swamp, and it's a pump as well. So, I mean, I suppose I could take out 1 Liliana Shade and run one of them. But I'm currently running just the 3 Liliana Shades, so I'm quite happy with that. This is a pretty decent card, but I don't run it. Dread Warlock, 3 cost, but it can't be blocked except by black creatures. So only Exalted Darkness or the Mirror can people block him. But he's only a 2/2, so yet again, don't worry about him. I don't run the Liliana Spectra. I mean, it's a good card, 2/1, 3 cost flyer, and then you get to sacrifice a card. But it worked better with the Grave Whisperers from, I think it was Grave Whisperers from 2012, just because that was all about sacking cards. You've not got enough not enough cards in this deck make people sacrifice, so that's generally why I don't run that. I mean, 2 cards to get rid of them, and Towar's Mire, so that's why I don't run that card. It's also why I don't run this. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they only take 1 damage. It won't win you the game, basically, for a 3 cost. It's an artifact, it's not a creature, it won't put you in a position of any strength. Long term, yes, but you've got enough things in your hand that this won't make too much of a difference. That's why I don't run it. Warpath Ghoul, 3/2 for 3, nah, just another creature that no special abilities, so don't run it. One of the cards that people will probably be annoyed I don't run is Befoul, because you can destroy a land with it and a creature for 4. So you could suppose take out the Murders, but I'd rather have the instant from the Murder than Befoul. And I'm not really fussed about destroying lands with this deck, so I don't run that either. I did run it for a while I was testing the deck, but I've kind of got rid of it. I'm kind of preferring the way it's running, but it's one of the cards I would put back in. As I said, there is some cards that can interchange, I suppose. Your Bloodhunter Bat deals 2 damage, you gain 2 life for 4, and it's a 2/2 flyer. Bleh. Another good card that I enjoyed running, but I've just decided to take out, is the Mycene Manipulator. 4 cost, you can tap artifacts, creatures, or land, so you can really pin him down if he's not drawing lands. Like if he's on 4 maybe, you tap a land, he's down to you can only use 3. If you get both of them out, you can really pin creatures down and everything, so they are quite good. But I'm going for a slightly more creature heavy deck than I want them in it, so that's why I don't run either of them. I've obviously dropped one of the Liliana Shades out. And Sentimental Blight, -1 tokens on creatures and all this nonsense, don't bother with it. The Nestle Gold Troll, it's a 4/2, so I mean it's a 5 cost, and let's be honest, a 4/2 coming down on turn 5 is probably unlikely to be able to swing in with only 2 in the back. So that's why I don't run it. I've not even tested it, I know by turn 5 the chances of this guy getting in to actually doing any damage are extremely unlikely, so that's why I don't run him. You're probably going to get 1, maybe 2 zombies out of him before you've either won the game because you're in such a strong position, or he's dead. So for 5 cost, you know, as I said, you've got your Obliterator, you've got your Dread, so far better cards, don't run that. Nightwing Shade, yeah, again, it's one of the pumps. This is a 2/2 flyer, but for the 5 cost, and it's 2 to pump him as well, so nah, don't bother. There is another Rise from the Grave. I'm actually surprised I've not got that in my deck. Why have I not got the other Rise from the Grave in? That's bizarre. I must have taken something out and not had the other Rise from the Grave in, so I'll put that and get rid of one of the Blights. I'm not sure why that, so yeah, I'm running both the Rise from the Graves. Don't know why, I must have just missed that when I was constructing the deck, possibly just went over the top of it. But yeah, I want 2 of the Rise from the Graves in, better card. Anyway, moving on, Veilborn Ghoul. I don't mind this card too much. I mean, it can't block, so... But it's whenever a Swamp enters the battlefield, but it's a 5 cost. So I mean, he does come back to your hand, so you can cast him again, but he can't block. So it's one of those weird cards. When you're in a strong position, you can apply a lot of pressure with this card, but then if you're not, you don't want to see it in your deck. And it's a 5 cost, so that's why I took both of them out. This card's insane, if I'm reading this correctly. Hellcarver Demon. When Hellcarver deals damage to a player, sacrifice all other permanents you control and discard your hand. Exile the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. But then I believe you're getting rid of all your lands as well. So you're basically saying this is make or break with this card. I'm going to win with this card, and I just feel that that can backfire horribly. Especially with it being a 6 cost, you might have strong things in your hand already, so you know by playing this guy, you're not going to get anything decent out of those cards. It just becomes a wasted card in a sense, so that's why I don't run it. As I said, I run one of the Nightmares. Nightmare Incursion, you can go into the opponent's hand and exile cards, which is kind of handy because he won't know what you're exiling, but it's a 6 cost, rather be playing a creature. I see this come up a lot, Public Execution for 6, destroy a creature and all other creatures get -2 attack power for the turn, but the 6 cost, rather have a creature for that. One of the cards I was running for a while but I've just taken out was the Gorgon. It's a 3/6 handy card because of the Death Touch, so because of the 6 in the back makes it quite powerful, plus you can just turn everything to statues, which makes them defenders only, which means you can basically just stop people attacking you. But long term, I'd rather have one of my other bigger ones. Phage, I don't know, Phage the Untouchable. Pretty nasty card, but she's only a 4/4, and this weirdness about whenever she does damage you win and all this nonsense, so I just don't run her. Very expensive as well, so nah. Pestilence Demon deals 1 damage and he's a 7/6. The ability's not particularly great. I mean, there is other things. By the time he's coming out, do you really want to be doing 1 damage to creatures? I mean, you can pile it up obviously because the swamps. So, I mean, if you've got 7 swamps, I suppose you could be doing 7 damage. So, and just picking off creatures, but for the cost 8, by turn 8, I think you should be in a strong enough position. The ability, I mean, I suppose against certain decks like Pack Instincts, that would possibly come in quite handy. In the testing, I've not really come across against a strong Pack Instincts deck yet, so it's probably not accurate, the testing for this card, but I've just decided to drop it out. As I said, only run one of these guys, and in this one, Plague Wind, destroy all creatures you don't control, they can't be generated for 9. So yeah, you can clear a battlefield with that, pretty good card, but 9 cost. So I just kind of like this. I mean, it's pretty similar to the way probably a lot of people run this deck. I think coming across playing people, the 60 cards, this does seem to be very similar to a lot of people. A lot of people don't, the cards that I don't run, a lot of people don't run, if that's what I'm meaning. Anyway guys, I'll get some games up. So this is CawbeerTV, signing out.